Hello and good evening. Yes, appalling lighting as always. Useless lighting. And my terrible hair, because it's impossible to get your hair cut in this country. Everywhere I've been, they've made a total mess of it. So I'm loath to trust another one. But anyway, I look like I've been dragged through a hedge. But there we go. So yeah, useless hairdressers. It's a terrible thing. Trying to flatten it out, but no, it doesn't work. So anyway, hello and good evening, and sorry for being a couple of minutes late, but we've had to move things around in the garden because there may be another storm tonight. So there we are. So anyway, um, good evening to Paulie, Keeley, Enigma, Wits End, Andrea Bono, Chris Wilson, PIV, WIV. I can never pronounce your name. SS Racing, Wits End, JC Lav, Liberty Caps, and Jojo. Hello, yes. Good evening to you all. And yes, sorry about all the paraphernalia in the background. Yes, not a very good setup, but it's very hard to do this when you don't know what you're going to get until you actually set it up, because unfortunately the YouTube doesn't give you the opportunity to look at how you look before you go on, unlike this thing called StreamYard, which I've been on other people's channels, but I don't know how to set that up, so I can't use that. Anyway, happy 8th of July. Yes, happy 8th of July to Mr. Lee Kicker. Cheers to you and cheers to me. I'm trying a different gin today. It's a French gin. I will make a little video about it in the morning. A different gin. It's a rather creamy taste, but it does have the hints of juniper, and it has a hint of mandarin to me. So there we go. Anyway, moving along. Yes, hello and welcome to you all. So whilst we wait for a few more of you to arrive, have you any questions? We're going to talk about the Jeffrey Epstein matter, the useless FBI, and the useless Donald Trump, and why Donald Trump is probably doing what he's doing. And I'll talk about Nadine Dorries, Nasty Nad, that horrible conservative ex-politician who is a defender of Lucy Letby and wants to go and visit her in prison, and wrote the most ridiculous article about why she wasn't getting her little pass to go and visit. Oh, poor Nad. Poor Nasty Nad, the writer of terrible novels. Nasty Nad, the novel non-entity, is what she should be called. Her novels are not exactly in the league of Jilly Cooper. They're not even in the league of anybody in the world. They should just be sent to Siberia. And she said, "Oh, I'm not allowed to come. I'll come to the topic when a few more of you are here." But let's be honest. Nasty Nad is a nasty piece of toe rag, and she should be put on the Bibby Stockholm. Put her on there with that awful Duchess of York as well, who another one I'll come to later. The ridiculous Duchess of Pork, the Duchess of Dork is what she should be called. Yes, go and visit the families who lost their babies, says Enigma. Yes, precisely. Those families are the people who Nadine Dorries should be offering sympathy to. They lost their children because of what this evil woman did. Anyway, we'll come to her in due course, but for the moment, we will carry on. So, yes, if you have some questions on any other topics, whilst we wait a few more of you, we will... Did I miss popping into Marks and Spencer's? I don't remember the last time I went into Marks and Spencer's, to be very frankly honest. Probably maybe last November or something. I don't know. I haven't been... Marks and Spencer's was never really very convenient because the one in Knightsbridge closed down, and the one on the King's Road I didn't really ever go in. It was a strange place. You had to walk through all the clothes to get to the food section, and quite frankly it was a bit of an odd place to go because if you wanted to buy lots of food you had to walk all the way around. There was nowhere to park your car really. It was a car park, but it was miles away, so it was not a very convenient shop, to be honest. I don't think it's a very useful shop. And all these people who are campaigning to keep it from being pulled down as a building, I totally disagree. I think pull the building down and start again. The building is a disaster. You can hear the noisy birds. Yes, they are being very noisy. Um, Barrymore has been posting today. You didn't have time to watch. Well, I haven't watched myself, but Barrymore is trying to reinvent himself. Barrymore is always trying to reinvent himself, and it's not very successful. Dressing up as Hitler and worshipping Jimmy Savile and getting on your knees and rolling around on the floor with the convicted criminal racist Marie Claire Baroness von Orvensleben, a convicted criminal racist assaulter of my friends, who called one of my friends a Jewish pig. Not a nice look at Barrymore, is it? Barrymore, awful, awful man. Have I ever consumed a pot noodle? I have had a pot noodle in the past. I can't say I've had one since I was at school. I wouldn't say it was something I would choose to consume on a daily basis. No, we had some chicken skewers tonight with some sautéed vegetables and some peppers, so potatoes with mint and chives from the garden. So there you go. You've seen Barrymore's book at the back in business in a charity shop, and we could have bought it for 50p. Well, I think that's about all it's worth, isn't it? You should probably read Cheryl Barrymore's book if she wrote one, because she told the truth about her ex-husband. He lied about how he couldn't swim. He was a total liar. He's a deceiver. He's dishonest. Come on, Barrymore, man up, grow up, and show up, and then I'll challenge you to a discussion. Why did 9 people go to a party and only 8 of them lived? And you ran away from your own house like the little cowardy custard that you are. You are a cowardy custard. That's a kind description for you. I could call you much worse, actually, Barrymore. Now, Barrymore, you like to get a bit of publicity, so come on and speak with me. I'll dare to challenge you. I challenge you to speak with me, Barrymore. Let's be having you. Let's be having you, as a certain person would have said. And I did try ringing your agent, but your agent's a coward as well. He's another pathetic specimen. So, yeah, come on, Barrymore. Man up, grow up, and show up, Barrymore. Yes, poor Cheryl, says Anne of Cleves. Cheryl was a long-suffering wife who was humiliated at those television awards where he announced he was coming out as gay in front of his wife. What a stupid man, and how cruel to her when she managed his career. He would have gotten nowhere if it hadn't been for her. She was the one who guided his career, and she was loyal, and she put up with his antics, and he dobbed her in and treated her badly, and, pathetic. And then poor lady got cancer and died, so you have to feel sorry for her. Yes, where is the door handle? Where is the thermometer? Precisely. The key questions to the whole saga. Alongside, why did 9 people go to a party and 8 of them turn into a bunch of lying toe rags? 8 of them have told lies ever since. They have never, ever told the truth. A man who was there, who was a heterosexual man, he was the father of 2 children. And he went there, just thinking it was a bit of a fun party with a famous person. And, it's a different era. And, they all met in a nightclub. And, Barrymore was showing off and saying all of the things he did. And then, this poor man ends up being raped and murdered and abused with a door handle and a pull thermometer. It's a disgusting thing that went on. And Barrymore tried to claim, they did that in the morgue. Really? When bodies get taken to morgues, they don't get abused by the people who work in the morgue because they've got so many bodies coming in. They've got to get through the bodies, haven't they? They've got to process them. So what a load of old rubbish. That's an absolute pack of lies, and as usual. Alex Belfield is very much cut from the same cloth as Barrymore. Yes, so he's got out of prison, and I don't know if he's whinging and whining, but he is nothing special either. absolutely awful. Sorry, my phone is beeping. I should have turned the phone off, but anyway, I didn't. Um, yes, this case will never see fruition, says Nicola. You want to move on. We don't need to move on because Sue Homan has lost, her husband, and two children have lost their father, and a grandfather died without justice. So, Nicola, I totally disagree with you, actually. On this occasion, I think you're completely wrong, and I don't agree. But you are entitled to your view, but I will not shut up about Michael Barrymore. I will continue to campaign for justice for the victim, Stuart Lubbock. So there we are. I will not be silencing myself. I will not be shutting up in any way, shape, or form. Um, Mr. Lee Kicker says, answer the phone. It could be Christine Hamilton. It's not Christine Hamilton, it's somebody else. It came up on the computer as well, but it's not Christine Hamilton on this one occasion. So, but Christine is a lovely lady, and, she was falsely accused of sexual assault. Along with her husband, by a woman who was subsequently jailed for perverting the course of justice. Nadine Milroy Sloan, who subsequently also was jailed for a second time for doing the same thing again. But she was helped by and aided and abetted by Max Clifford, a man who also jailed for sexual offences. There's a lot of nasty people out there, and I will say that Michael Barrymore is a very, very nasty piece of rubbish. And he is somebody who gave a party at his house. 9 people allegedly went. I believe there could have been more. They could be lying. They could have protected some other people, couldn't they? But Sue Homan doesn't believe that. And, she knows a lot more about the case than I do. But given her ex-husband was the victim. So there we are. Anyway, I raise my glass to the memory of Stuart Lubbock and his father, Terry. And I will not shut up, Nicola. No, I will not shut up about any of the cases that I talk about, because I want to see justice in all of those cases. Omar Benguit, I want justice for him. He needs to get out of prison. I want to get justice for Mark Alexander. He needs to get out of prison. I want justice for Jeremy Bamber. He needs to get out of prison. And I want Lucy Letby to stay in prison. Now, when we get to a bigger number, it's rising quite fast, but I'll wait a little longer. I will talk about Lucy Letby, who should remain in prison and keep her there as long as possible. Along with, today I read the story by Guy Adams, who I know from the Daily Mail. Not seen him in years, but Guy spent 10 weeks at the trial of the mushroom killing woman, the Beef Wellington slayer. And he wrote a very fascinating article about that in the Mail. What a strange woman. And the husband was the luckiest of all, because he decided not to go to the lunch. And he had been poisoned on repeated occasions by her and had kept bringing it up, and no one believed him. And even though the signs were all there, it was unbelievable what happened to this poor man. And, luckily she decided not to kill her children, but, the other people did not need to be killed either. The primary aim of that lunch was for him, but he decided to be a no-show at the last minute. So he got lucky, but the rest of them, well, they didn't. And she did have a different coloured plate. And it seems that this woman, she had all the money in the world. What was her need to do this? But she was angry with the husband for separating from her because she didn't get the benefits. But she'd inherited £1 million, aged 30 years old. She's now about 50, so she invested all this money in properties. She had all the money in the world. She had 2 children. She's obviously, they suggest she may be bipolar or something of that type. That's the excuse they're giving for her weird antics. And she's got one friend left who's defending her. But honestly, the mushroom Beef Wellington killer, she didn't even make Beef Wellington the correct way. You normally make Beef Wellington as a whole parcel, and then you slice it up into slices. She made like Cornish pasties, beef Wellingtons. She really wasn't a very. She had no colour. She was hardly Mrs. Beeton, was she? Um, but she certainly didn't beat about the bush in poisoning people. And she, lied and just tried to destroy the thing to dry out the mushrooms. She threw it in a skip or in a landfill site or something. And she said she panicked. And she had the cry. It was another crybaby. Oh, they're very good at crying, these kind of people. When they get caught, they always cry. Can't understand people who cry about everything. Pathetic. Yes, Greg Wallace is crying also. Good riddance, Greg Wallace. Never met Greg Wallace, but a friend of mine did have a restaurant with him briefly in a hotel in Bermondsey. My friend is a hotelier and owns many hotels. Englishman who his father ran the Ligon Arms in the Cotswolds, a famous hotel where Jeffrey Archer was once a waiter. There you go. There's a silly little fact that you probably didn't know. Anyway, he had a he opened a hotel in Bermondsey, and Greg Wallace ran the restaurant briefly, but Greg Wallace ran the restaurant very badly, and it closed down. So Greg Wallace, are you a master chef or are you just a master pain in the ass? Because you just seem to be a master creep, to be honest. You are a master creep by what's said of you. Going around groping all these poor women and flashing yourself and doing all of that. Revolting. Absolutely. Biscotek goes further and uses the W word that ends in R. Well, I won't repeat it because it's offensive, but to some people. But yeah, he could be termed that. He's no Martha Stewart. Well, Martha may have been to prison, but Martha is a lovely lady. I enjoyed very much having dinner with her many years ago, just after she got out of prison in San Francisco, on the set of Jacques Pepin's TV show. And Jacques Pepin is a fabulous chef of a distinct, different era and quality to Greg Wallace. Jacques Pepin has cooked for, I think, 8 presidents. He's an amazing, amazing man, and he's civilized and he's decent. And somewhere I have a copy of his book that he gave me, but he still makes videos on the old TikTok or the Instagram or whatever it is with his simple recipes. He's a man of simple good taste. And like Julia Child, he introduced French cooking to America, and he's distinguished and he's decent. Whereas Matt Wallace, no, absolutely appalling behavior. And cancel him, forget about him. Let's ever have him back. Oh, he wants to be forgiven and all the rest of it. And, my friend George Sitwell's brother, William, who's, of course, the food critic, William Sitwell, who's also involved in MasterChef, has been vaguely pleasant about Matt Wallace in the past, but I don't know what he'll say as of today. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say and others have to say about Matt Wallace. I ought to go on Come Dine With Me. I was rejected for that programme. They thought I was too obscure. I think that was many years ago. Before I was asked to go on Gogglebox, but they couldn't find anyone suitable to put with me. They wanted me on Gogglebox, but they didn't find any suitable partner because it's a very grueling schedule, and most of the people I know could not commit to the schedule, which was a bit of a problem. But I would have enjoyed doing the Gogglebox, even though I don't really watch television. I listen to the radio, so maybe they should do Radio Box or something. That might be a new idea. But I suppose that wouldn't work because you wouldn't be able to get people's facial reactions to a radio show, I suppose, if you were doing it on the radio. So it might not really work. I can understand why they don't do that, but that's my mad idea. But you could always do a program with people talking about the radio show as they listen, couldn't you? We could talk about the radio shows. You can see me being on Question Time. I've been in the audience on Question Time, and I have asked questions. It was when I was a child, though. I've been on lots of different TV, radio programs. As you know, I've even interrupted one. I did ruin one once. I pulled out the cables on a nasty man. I forget his name. Timmy Mallet. And my grandmother had a real go at him when he started shouting at me. So Granny Howard dealt with him very appropriately. Horrible, horrible man is Timmy Mallet. Nasty, nasty piece of work. Up there with Richard and Judy and Fred the Weatherman. Awful, awful people. The whole lot of them. A whole lot of northern horrors, that lot. And I love the north of England. So don't say I'm being negative about the north of England, but they're all, the thing there is it all occurred in that region. So that's why I mentioned it. Right, there's 113 of you here, so I shall talk about a few things, I think, first. Yes, Timmy Mallet is a bit of a Charlie Chester. There you go. Right. Yes, well, go Granny, get Mallet. Yes, well, my grandmother is still alive, but she's not very well. But she's in good spirits. But she did not like Timmy Mallet, and she didn't like Richard and Judy. So she's a lady of good taste, I would suggest, in that regard. There we go. You never liked the Weatherman? Yes. Yes. Deanne Daly would like me to talk about the Epstein list. Well, that is my main topic for the evening. So obviously, the FBI has formally ended its investigation into the Duke of York's links to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and others. You know, Ghislaine Maxwell has been convicted of sex trafficking, but nobody else has been convicted. Obviously, Jean-Luc Brunel died in a Paris jail cell of suicide, so he couldn't be tried, but he was a person who would have been put on trial for his involvement in the whole matter. Jeffrey Epstein died in a New York jail cell. Are you getting a theme here? They get rid of these people. So the other people are involved: Prince Andrew, Donald Trump, associates of these people, Epstein and Maxwell, who flew on the plane. Yes, Donald Trump did fly on the plane. He can deny it all he wants. He did fly on the planes. There is no evidence to suggest Donald Trump went to the island, but Donald Trump went here, there, and elsewhere with Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, Virginia Roberts worked at Mar-a-Lago, as did her father. So, a lot of roads lead to Donald Trump. But then we've got Bill Clinton, who did jet around the world regularly with Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. Here we have a network of people who are completely interconnected. These people are like glue. They stick together. And the number of people who were on that island, including Prince Andrew, and the lovely Fergie, who took loans, the Duchess of York, who took loans and other benefits from Jeffrey Epstein. We have, Alan Dershowitz, who was a clear friend of his. We have, Israeli politicians. We have Jess Staley, chief of Barclays, chief of Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. We have lots and lots of others, pots and pots of them. British aristocrats, all sorts of people. And they all went and spent time with these people. And some of them clearly were given special things, i.e. people to play around with. as much as he played around with them himself, to put it in a mild sense, for decent viewing. But honestly, I will say this: it is an absolute disgrace that Donald Trump came to office promising to reveal the lists. Everything that's been revealed thus far by the Donald Trump administration, this Pam Bondi, she's a totally useless waste of space, is Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is Pam pain in the arse, to be honest. She's just talked a load of rubbish. And as for Kash Patel, absolutely rubbish. The FBI directors and deputy director, and Dan Bongino, absolutely useless. You promised that you would reveal. You just regurgitated old news. It's absolutely pathetic. All these lists, I've already got these lists. I had them years ago. This is not new news. And now you have basically said nothing. And you did say back in 2023, Mr. Patel, put your big boy pants on and let us know who the paedophiles are. Well, come on, Mr. Patel, do your job. You are an absolute waste of space. They've asked to interview Jeffrey Berman, who was the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, asked to interview the Duke of York in January 2020. But now that's not happening. None of it's happening. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. Just because Donald Trump wants his little state visit to go without any hitch. It's absolutely ridiculous. Donald Trump, you're a coward. You're a cowardly custard, Donald Trump. For all your truth social that you talk about, you don't do anything. You don't help victims. You don't do anything for these people. You just hide, and there you are in lots of photographs with Jeffrey and with Ghislaine. You have a lot of questions to answer, Mr. Trump, and if this is paving the way to pardoning Ghislaine, shame on you. Absolute shame on you. Viewers, what do you think? Do you think Donald Trump is going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell in the coming months, or do you think he'll wait to the end of the presidency, or do you think he won't pardon her at all? What do you think? Enigma says no. That is our first definitive answer, is no. Any more answers on this? Maybe later. Witsend says no. Anne of Cleves says he won't pardon her. Mr. Lee Kicker says, I don't think he will. His name will be completely ruined. Watch and report, however, contrast. He will pardon her. Deanne Daly, he's corrupt by the seams. It's doubtful, says Biscuitek. Of all the things Trump could be called, there's no way he's a coward, Matthew, says John Miller. Well, he is a coward, because why doesn't he answer the questions about Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein? He needs to answer the questions, John Miller. I totally disagree with you. Trump doesn't care about her, says TMTB. He won't pardon her at all, says Miss Perfect. It's a no from PIVWIV. It's a yes from Who's the Snitch. She will get a pardon. Do a deal with her, get the names, says John Clifford. Right. Anyway, it seems we have very mixed opinions on the matter of Donald Trump and a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. So there we go. Anyway, just an article from the Telegraph I was reading earlier. And now we'll move along onto the next topic, which is Nadine Dorries. Sorry, I can't really show it very clearly, but nasty Nad. Nadine Dorries. There you are. You can see her ugly mug. There she is. Nasty Nad. Mr. Lee Kicker doesn't want to see her. I don't know how many of you know who Nadine Dorries is, but Nadine Dorries now writes for the Mail, and she does tweet at Nadine Dorries. Under it's at Nadine Dorries, Dorries. She's an ex-nurse herself from Liverpool and was a Conservative MP and minister and close associate of Boris Johnson. But now she's one of the groupies of Lucy Bloody Letby, the child slaughterer. Um, Lynn says she was a scouser. She isn't anymore. Yes, she went in the jungle. She did do the jungle program, and she got paid her MP's salary whilst being in the jungle. Another disgrace. You know, I'm sorry, if you're an MP, you should be representing your constituents, not making money running around in a jungle eating um, kangaroo's testicles or whatever it was. She is an absolute horror. Anyway, she is moaning today that she applied more than 6 months ago to be put on an approved visitor list, but for Lucy Letby, the baby slaughterer. Why would you want to spend time visiting the murdering monster? I would suggest the better thing she could do, as one person suggested earlier here, is why doesn't she go and visit the parents of the victims of the baby slaughterer? They're the people who deserve our sympathy, not Lucy Letby, the convicted mass murderer who is about to be, investigated for further crimes. So her and Peter Hitchens and David Davis and most recently, former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt, she claims, is now joining the merry band of supporters. Lord Sumption also is another one who's joined it. She doesn't mention him because she doesn't like him because he said the wrong thing on other topics like Brexit for her. So she's very selective in her choice of fellow supporters, obviously. Anyway, her application has been ignored and she's not very happy about it. So Nasty Nad has written an article of a page and a little bit moaning about why she's been turned down and suggesting it's possibly because she's a former minister and possibly because she's criticized the experts in the case, possibly because, she writes for the Daily Mail, X, Y, and Z. Nasty Nad is very capable of whinging and whining. She's got that sort of nasty little temperament that you would expect of a woman of her type. She should be on the panel of loose women. That's the kind of level of degenerate that she is. She's an appalling stain on humanity, and her support for Lucy Letby disgusts me. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on her. But what are your thoughts on her? Have you any thoughts? Keep her off the television, says Wits End. Well, she's often on the television. She finds her way onto all sorts of things. So there we are. She was too close to Boris to be taken seriously. Well, she ends her article by saying, let's see what happens this time. She says a young woman loved and supported by her family, childhood friends, and many former colleagues has been in jail continuously since 2020, will wait out her 30s in what is possibly the biggest miscarriage of justice this country has ever known. I've asked for another visitor's form to be sent to me. Let's see what happens this time. Anyway, tomorrow I'm going to be partaking in a program. Well, a group of Jeremy Bamber's supporters in the evening, and I will say, why doesn't she support him? Sorry, you were just saying free Lucy Connolly. I distracted me. Why don't we support Jeremy Bamber, it's taken them 4 years to review out of 10 pieces of evidence 4 items. Jeremy Bamber deserves a review of his case on the CCRC. This Lucy Letby's been there since 2020. He's been there since the 1980s. It's a shocking state of affairs. It's a true miscarriage of justice, and I don't think it is correct to give Lucy Letby priority over other people. There are plenty of other people who are waiting patiently and being treated badly. Yes, the Blue Nomad is totally incorrect. 4 years to review 4 pieces out of 10. Why can't they hurry up and do it? But of course, the CCRC was a famous organisation for letting its chief and deputy chief go on jollies here, there, and everywhere. They went on nice little old charabangs off here, there, and what. Will I be going on the Sean Atwood channel again? Well, if I'm invited, maybe, yes. I don't know. It depends on the topic. It depends on the time. It depends whether they wish to have me on there. There you go. Right. Nadine sounds exploitative. I totally agree. Totally agree. You've requested a meeting with me and Lucy Letby. Okay. I don't wish to meet Lucy Letby. I have no desire to meet her. I think that she is an appalling, evil woman. She's one of the worst evil. She's up there with Rosemary West. In fact, she's ahead of Rosemary West. She's only one of, I think, 4 life prisoners of her type in the female category. Has Sean Atwood and Ron kissed and made up? I believe they are back doing things together and they're on good terms. So glad to hear it. Sense does prevail sometimes, doesn't it? So, yes, okay. Have we any more questions, or would you like a quiz? Yes. You're surprised at Hitchens. Well, he's particularly obsessed with Lucy Letby. He's more obsessed than the others. There we go. I preferred Christopher Hitchens to Peter Hitchens, and I've met both of them. So I did enjoy spending time in San Francisco, sitting at a bar, getting drunk with Christopher Hitchens. But Peter Hitchens, when I was at university, came to a lunch, and I have to say I didn't enjoy his company. I found him very obnoxious. Not my kind of person. So there we go. You want to get quizzical. Yes, you want to get quizzical. Okay, well, you can have a quiz. I'll have to find a piece of paper, and we will have a new piece of paper tonight, I think. Got to move all these things around next to me to make a bit of space. Here we go. Oh, we're going to try and write a quiz. Sorry, write the quiz winners down. Sorry. So I've got to have a piece of paper, haven't I? To do that, because I used to have people who helped me, but nobody seems to want to do that anymore. Right. Are you ready for the quiz? Right. We had the winner last night, Lucy Worsley, who obviously, well, I think it's an invented name, but there we are. Right. So we're going to go on to quiz 109. Quiz 109, if you're ready. Are we ready to go? Okay, your first question. In which year was Geneva-based watch making company Vacheron Constantin formed? What year was it formed? It wasn't 1908. Ionescu is close with 1743, but not spot on. So are we anyone going to get any closer? It wasn't 1760, but you're the closest. No. Tallulah with 1744 was close, but Ion Ionescu can have the point because he says 1754. It was actually 1755. So Ion Ionescu. Just let me move this over so I've got a bit of space to do this writing. Ion Ionescu. 1 point to you. Well done. It was a company that is now a subsidiary of Richemont since 1996. It was founded by Jean-Marc Vacheron, who was a close friend of the Enlightenment-making philosophers Rousseau and Voltaire. There you go. He was a close friend of them. So there you are. Right. Well done to Ionescu for getting a first point in our quiz. So you've done very well, sir. Well done. You got 1 year out, so it's okay. I can take an approximate. The next question is, what does the number 666 signal? What does 666 signal? Sonia Todd can have it with the devil. Sonia Todd. I will allow the devil. It really is the beast, but Sonia Todd, it is actually the beast of Revelation. Chapter 13, verse 18 of the book of Revelation. And it's a reference, of course, to the Emperor Nero. Emperor Nero was who it was supposedly based upon. Right. Okay. In which year did Sir Arthur Lazenby found his namesake store? In which year did Sir Arthur Lazenby found his namesake store on London's Regent Street? It's adored by Japanese. He specialized in importing Japanese arts and crafts for liberal bohemian. Oscar Wilde said of it, the chosen resort of the artistic shopper. Tallulah gets it with 1875. It was 1875. So Arthur Lazenby, Liberty, obviously. Yes, Mr. Liberty. So there we are, Liberty. Yes, so Tallulah gets it perfectly. Tallulah is getting a star point because she got it completely correct first time. Okay. What other than Star of Anise does the pastis of the same name contain? What does pastis star other than Star of Anise contain? There are multiple options. I'll take the first that I get that's acceptable. No. Well, herbs are in it, yes. Lynn says oh no, Jules B says licorice. You're the first to say. Okay, I'll take Jules B because you were the first to say licorice. My acceptable answers were licorice, herbs, spices, angelica, fennel, nutmeg, cinnamon, and cloves. But we'll allow Jules B the point because you were there quicker than quick. And we do have a lot of wind in the background. Yes. Yes. There we go. Okay, so next question. Approximately how many thousand islands are there in Indonesia? Approximately how many thousand islands? Bali is the only Hindu one, the rest are mostly Muslim. It's not 200,000. Sonia Todd, you can have the point, 13,000. Sonia Todd, a second point, taking you into the lead, 13,000. There you go. 13,000 is the approximate number. Which artist allegedly once said, I too can fake a Picasso, to the late art historian Sir John Richardson? Who said it? To I too can fake a Picasso. It wasn't Monet. It wasn't Banksy. It wasn't Pollock. It wasn't. Cadders gets the point. Of course, it was Picasso himself. He put a painting into a pile of fake pile. Though he was witness creating the very same painting. So he got caught out on that one. So he answered, I too can fake a Picasso. So there you go. What are ha-has? What is a ha-ha? H-A-H-A. What is a ha-ha? It's not a bird. It's not a laugh. Sarah Havison, you can have it. It is a ditch. It is what's called a blind ditch. I'm getting looks in the background. I think someone's falling asleep, but not very well. Sarah Havison gets the point. A ha-ha is a ditch. It's a blind ditch. It's what was created by the gentry to give uninterrupted views of their parkland, but to stop keeping the deer from coming into their garden and eating everything in sight. So that is a ha-ha. So well done to Sarah. Well done, Sarah. A ha-ha. Any self-respecting Georgian household would have a ha-ha. So there you go. It wasn't a laugh, no, but it was. It kept them. I suppose it's made them allowed to laugh at their deer for not being able to get through. It's a bit like my birds that keep coming in this house. I mean, fortunately, they've gone away for the evening, but they have been coming in the house this morning, which hasn't been very helpful. So, next question. In which year was Rachel Reeves elected as MP for Leeds West? Which year did Rachel Reeves, the Queen of Thieves, boring, snoring, embellishing her CV, Rachel from Accounts, what year was she elected as an MP for Leeds West? No, it wasn't 2015, it wasn't 2016, it wasn't 2014, it wasn't 2018, it wasn't 2037 because that's in the future, it wasn't 2002, it wasn't 2017. But Tallulah gets a second point, taking her into joint first. Well done, Tallulah. It was 2010. Okay, who wrote the soundtrack for Mission Impossible? Who wrote the soundtrack? He also wrote Dirty Harry, Enter the Dragon, A Breakfast, A Brilliant Musical Mind is what he's defined as. He died, he was born in 1932 and he just died in 2025. What was the name of the songwriter of the soundtrack for Mission Impossible? It wasn't Broccoli. It was Lalo, yes, but what is his surname? We can only accept full answers, Sonia Todd. Sonia Todd, if you want to submit an answer, we need the Tallulah gets it meanwhile with the full answer. So I'm sorry, Layla, Sonia Todd, you right, Tallulah goes into the lead. Because of course it was Lalo Schifrin. And we have to have full names, full disclosure for an answer to be acceptable. I can't be having, just a Christian name. That's not really enough. But I thank you for participating. It's very nice. But I have made clear on multiple occasions the answer has to be a full answer. So we will not be having half answers. Okay. How many billion pounds sterling did Santander pay for TSB in July 2025? The TSB Bank, how much did they pay for it? How many billion pounds? It wasn't 55 and it wasn't 10. It wasn't 4,000 billion. That's rather a lot. It wasn't £1. Ionescu is close, but Tallulah gets the point. It was, of course, 2.65 billion, but you say 2.5. I will accept that. So Tallulah gets the point, taking Tallulah well into the lead with 4 points. So Tallulah, as of question number 11, is in the lead with 4 points out of a possible 11. Which movie gave Brad Pitt the best opening weekend of his career in 2025? Which year? Which movie? What's the name of the movie? His 37-year, he's been Nana Buster gets the point. Nana Buster. It was F1, of course. There's a new film called F1. 37-year career. It took $300 million by the 5th of July, opened on the 27th of June. It also stars Damson Idris. There we are. As of 2025, what percentage of Britons own their own homes? What percentage of Britons own their own homes in 2025? It's not 45, it's not 37, it's not 55, it's not 63, it's not 68, it's not 69. Let's see if we get anyone closer. Keeley gets it with 65. Well done to Keeley, a new entrant to the quiz, but Keeley is a regular on our quiz. The Office for National Statistics said in 1918, 77% of households were rented, almost all privately. By 1981, 58% of households were owner-occupied. So the transformation was there, and it was not down just to Margaret Thatcher selling off the council houses. So it was a thing. The British have a thing about owning houses. And as of today, there was a great article in the Daily Telegraph which said, it's more expensive to buy a house now in Kilburn than it is in Knightsbridge, because all the rich of Knightsbridge are fleeing because they don't want to live there anymore because they don't want to pay this new tax. So London is emptying. It's a complete reversal of roles. People don't want to buy. So house prices are collapsing in Britain, and I don't think it's going to go any other way until with the Keir Starmer regime. But anyway, the estate agents of Knightsbridge were whinging and whining, of course. So there we go. Anyway, next question. Oh, sorry, some stupid notification has interrupted me. Right. Okay. Okay. Anyway, you like my okay in anyways. One of you just made the reference. Right. Which French avant-garde dramatist once wrote of Paris, "Nobody is content to be a spectator there"? It wasn't Jeff Banks. It wasn't Sartre. It wasn't Michael Barrymore. He's not a dramatist. Tallulah gets another point. Well done, Tallulah. Now on 5 points. Tallulah, you are well in the lead, Tallulah. It was Jean Cocteau. So there you go. So there we are. Okay. Next question. Where am I up to? I'm trying to find with which style, era of design is William Morris associated? William Morris. It's not punk. Lewis Petzold, you can have it with arts and crafts. Lewis. Yes, Lewis Petzold, new entrant to the quiz tonight, but often regularly in the quiz. Obviously, It could have also been Edwardianism, would have been another acceptable answer. Sense of optimism and hope after the somber final decades of Queen Victoria's reign. It brought in light and colour. 1901 to the 1920s, even though Edward the Seventh died in 1910. His wife was a very social person and she was very colourful. And it was more about having a better way of living and, living it more comfortably than you did in the Victorian age when everything was too big. The Victorians would have a kitchen at half a mile from the dining room because they didn't want to burn to death if the kitchen set on fire. So the staff could burn, but they didn't want to burn. That was basically how it worked. Anyway, what is a group of baboons called? What is a group of baboons? There's several options. I will accept any of the options, but there is a favoured option. It's not called a clan. No. Wits End can have the point. Wits End, it is a troop. Yes, Wits End gets the favoured option straight away. There are other options. It could be called a congress, which is what they called it on Radio 4 yesterday. It can be called a flange, or it can be called a troop, which the Congress explains, as one person I read about says, explains all the monkeying around that goes on in Washington, doesn't it? They're a bunch of baboons, those politicians in Washington, the Congress of baboons. So, yes, that's a baboon. And all sorts of other birds and animals. The strange names they're given. We'll come to another one in another quiz. Okay. How many trains, amongst them the Venice Simplon Orient Express and the Andean Explorer in Peru, do Belmont operate as of July 2025? How many do they operate? What is the total number of trains? It's not 14, it's not 5, it's not 2, it's not 10. It's not 17. Audrey gets it with 7. Audrey is a new entrant tonight, but Audrey is often involved in our quiz. It is 7. I've only ever been on the Orient Express and to Venice, and I loved it very much. They're part of the luxury group LVMH now, and they launched the Britannic Explorer in July 2025. People paid £55,000 for a 3-day trip to Cornwall, and guess what? It's been a total disaster. The trains had to be returned to the depot to be fixed, so they were all getting a refund. So it's not worked out well on that occasion. They did have a fancy launch party in London. My friend William Cookson, the artist, his brother Henry, who's an explorer, was invited there, and I saw pictures of him partying with all the others and all the fancy people, but the train actually never left the station, and the people who paid £55,000, they must be very cross. But when my late friend James Sherwood and his lovely wife, Dr. Shirley Sherwood, the leading botanist in the world, of course, who owned the Hotel Cipriani in Venice and the Splendido in Venice, in Portofino, and they ran a wonderful show with the trains, and they did a great job. But I think it's gone somewhat downhill since these people have taken over this LVMH. They might be a luxury company, but I don't think they're very good at running trains, as it testifies by the Britannic Explorer being taken back to base. Okay, so next question. We're on to question 17. With which sport is Hugo Keenan associated? Hugo Keenan. It is rugby, and you say Shoddy Sherwood is a bit of a tongue twister. Shoddy Sherwood. Well, I know. I also knew of a lady called Boaty Boatwright. I think that's far worse. And her parents were into boats. They were very into sailing. Right. With which sport is Hugo Keenan associated? It is rugby. So the first of you to get it. Sorry, I'm being distracted by names. The first person to get it was Dixie. Dixie gets the point. Dixie was first on that one. So Dixie gets a point. Well done to Dixie. 1 point, a new arrival, Dixie. So he plays for Ireland, Connacht, back 3, caps for Lions, 0, tests 28. Will Greenwood says capable of great things. So there you go. There we go. Okay. Next question coming up. It's very hard to do all of this when I've got to scroll down this menu of this, that, and the other. Tomorrow I will be going to join the Jerry Bamber group of supporters. So I will be talking to them about the matter of what's gone on with the Criminal Cases Review Commission, and they'll be talking about it amongst themselves. It's a private group, but if you wish to support Jerry Bamber and the Jerry Bamber campaign group, go and just Google Jerry Bamber campaign and sign up. And it's a thing you should all support. I urge you to support. Don't you agree, Lady Min? We should support the Jerry Bamber campaign group. She's not feeling very cooperative. She's a bit tired, but even she supports the Jeremy Bamber campaign group. We want to support Jeremy Bamber campaign groups. So, yes, please join in if you wish to join in. The more supporters they can get, the better. And I urge you to support Jeremy Bamber because we've talked about it, and you should read the New Yorker article on it. Anyway, we'll carry on with this quiz for now. So, we've done the rugby player. In which year did Vesuvius erupt? Burying the city of Pompeii in the process, of course. Which year? Anno Domini, which year? It wasn't 1982. No, it wasn't 1984. It wasn't 1756. But it was 79. Leslie gets the point. So Leslie gets a point. Leslie S. You can have the point. Well done to Leslie. There we go. 79 AD. How many children did the artist Vermeer and his wife have? How many children did they have? Their house was deluged by a gaggle of children. He died aged 43, and his widow recounted. Enigma gets the point. Enigma. So, right, we're getting lots of you getting points tonight, but only 1 point each. It was 11 children. His widow recounted he lapsed into such decay and decadence which he'd so taken to heart that it was as if he'd fallen into a frenzy. In a day and a half, he went from being healthy to being dead. There we go. That was how Vermeer ended his life. And of course, I had a chocolate liqueur that I used to sell called Vermeer, and it was made in the Netherlands. And, it was made with this Maurice Cambar and Sky Vodka Man. And we used to sell that in the UK, and it was very popular with lots of people, from Sherry Blair to Alan Titchmarsh to Princess Michael of Kent. They all seemed to love a bit of Vermeer chocolate liqueur. So there you go. We had all sorts of bizarre people, but it was a bit like Bailey's. But it was very good over ice cream, I will say that. But it was useless as a product. It just did not stick, let's be honest. So there we go. And your final question, which won't really change, it can't change the narrative of who's going to win this quiz. In which 1978 Richard Donner film did Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder star? Which film did they star in? Lois Petzold gets the point, giving you 2 points, Lois. It was Superman. It was the only Superman film to achieve commercial success, critical acclaim, and long-term renown. So, anyway, our winner on this thing is Tallulah B. Tallulah B gets the winning mantle. Well done to Tallulah with 5 points out of a possible 20. So Tallulah wins with Lois Petzold getting 2 points and Sonia Todd getting 2 points. All the rest got 1 point. So well done to Ian Ionescu, Jules B. Cadders, Sarah Haverson, Nana Buster, Keeley, Witsend, Audrey Dixie, Leslie S. and Enigma. So cheers to you all. Witsend, well done to the 1 pointers. Well, you were amongst them, so well done. Someone called Matthew for Prime Minister demands a recount. Well, you can't have a recount when you've got one person on 5 and the closest on 2. So it's not really anything other than clear, is it? Everyone's a winner. Yes, well, you are. We've all been wonderfully participant. If you'd like another quiz, you can have another quiz. I'm quite prepared to do another quiz, if that would be a way of having something other than a recount. You are welcome to another quiz. I have 2 more I've already written, and I'm well into writing a third. So you'd like another one? Okay. Well, given it's still nice and bright, and we haven't got noise in the background. You want a music quiz? I told you already, we don't do music quizzes. The quiz is always going to be mixed. There we are. Right, okay. Are you ready for another quiz? Pat Brown, criminal profile of Jeremy Bamber for her analysis of the Bamber case. I don't know who Pat Brown is. I don't listen to anybody other than those I have a good sense to listen to myself, so I don't know Pat Brown, but there we are. I'm not sure what Pat Brown's analysis is, but most of these people talk a load of old rubbish, especially that woman who wrote the White House Farm book, Carol Ann Lee, who also gets it wrong on the Pottery Cottage murders. So there we are. Anyway, I don't know, Enigma, who Pat Brown is. Is Pat Brown pro or anti Jeremy Bamber? Well, I'm very pro Jeremy Bamber, so there we go. You believe Pat Butcher? Oh dear. Okay, right. We're going to give them another quiz. We'll go on with that. And right, the next question, the first question in the new quiz 109, is what is Lancashire-born Carol Klein, who appeared on BBC Radio 4's Desert Island Discs on Sunday, primarily associated? What is she primarily associated? Lois Petzold gets it straight away. Lois Petzold, it is gardening. She is a television presenter. She's originally trained as a fine artist. She became a teacher. She then ran a plant nursery at Glebe Cottage at Chittlehampton Holt in Devon. She was born in Lancashire, as I said, won 6 gold medals at Chelsea Flower Show. exhibited at 200 Royal Horticultural Society shows, and then she had to close her little nursery after a dispute with her nasty neighbours. She's had all sorts of trouble, but she came across as a very lovely lady on the programme. So there we go. Anyway, my hair is blowing away in the wind, and the birds are making a racket. So, right, well done to Lois. Question number 1, you've achieved and you've delivered. So, right, okay. Next question. If you were mortal in Northumberland slang, what will you be? Mortal in Northumberland. What does it mean? Northumberland slang. Sonia Todd gets the point. It means drunk. And in Liverpool, of course, you'd be bevied. So there you go. There's an alternative. You'd be mortal or bevied if you're drunk. So that's what you say of people who are drunk. Thankfully, I'm not myself that tonight, I don't think yet. But I am having a nice time. Which Vibes virtuoso, composer and producer wrote Everybody Loves the Sunshine, the title track of his 1976 album? It wasn't Mozart. The T minus gets the point, even though you've not spelt it correctly, but I understand that you've probably got a bad keyboard like mine. It's Roy Ayers, Ayers. The godfather of neo soul, an earthy and cosmic song, 40 million streams on Spotify as of 2025, 200 covers and samples. As said, everybody gets in a happy mood when it hits the room. So it's a nice little song. You should all play Everybody Loves the Sunshine later on. A bit of a tongue twister there. A bit like whatever it was you criticised for before. The name. With which sport is Alex Iwobi associated? Alex Iwobi. Iwobi. Alex Iwobi. Miss Marple gets it. Well done, Miss Marple. It's football. He is Fulham as of 2025. He was Everton prior. There we go. So Alex Iwobi. So next question. And we get all this wind blowing in the background, making a funny noise. I think it's mostly the boats, the sail. Not quite the storm we had last night, but meanwhile, the powerful explosion has ripped through Domino's, says the Daily Mail. So that's why I'm getting notifications. A certain person, Dixie, is fast asleep on the sofa, not causing any trouble, but has had a dinner, so, it's not bad to have had something pleasant to eat. So better than being in a bad state. So, right. Okay, next question. For which constituency was Michael Portillo Member of Parliament between 1999 and 2005 in the UK, basically, in Great Britain? It wasn't Essex, it wasn't Lambeth, it wasn't Bournemouth, it wasn't Lowsham, it wasn't Peckham, it wasn't Chelsea, but Chelsea formed part of it, but I want the full constituency. No. T.G. Wilson gets it. Kensington and Chelsea. T.G. Wilson is correct. Of course, Michael Portillo was MP for Enfield Southgate from 1984 to 1997. Obviously, there was the moment where people said, do you remember where you were when Portillo went? That was the thing when he got kicked out. The Great British Railway journeys. The Bradshaw guides he talks about all the time on his program. He's become a much liked person as a result of talking about trains. And guess what? Aged 8, he appeared in a TV advert for nothing other than Ribena. Watch and Report wants to talk about Polly Portillo. Well, I think there are all sorts of rumors out there, but we won't go into those. In which year was the status of a free man or a citizen in the form of the freedom of the City of London first awarded? Which year approximately? It wasn't 1897 or 1776. No, it wasn't 1900 or 1975. No. No, not even 1610. No one's even close at the moment. Not one of you's close. No. 1325 is closer, but 1212 is close also, but not close enough. No. Miss Marple says 1230. You're pretty close. I'll accept Miss Marple 1230 because it was 1237. Miss Marple, she's already got a point, so Miss Marple is now in the lead. It was 1237, around about there or thereabouts. In which year was Baron Trump born? Baron Trump, son of Donald Trump. It wasn't 1992, it wasn't 2003 or 2004. No. Anne of Cleves gets the point. Well done to Anne. Anne of C. 1 point to you, Anne. It was 2006, the 20th of March. Donald Trump said of his son, Baron is great. He's very tall and good. Typical, wonderful Donald Trump analysis of a situation, hey? So, which Wimbledon's men finalist runner-up in 1879 became an all-round degenerate, opium and alcoholic addict, and then was convicted of the Monte Carlo trunk murder in 1907? What was his name? The Wimbledon semi-finalist who turned into a murderer. It wasn't Boris Becker, and it wasn't Sherlock Holmes. It wasn't Fred Perry, and it wasn't Bjorn. It wasn't Sir Bartholomew Gustwaite. I don't know what that means, but it wasn't Fred West. Oh, getting tired now. It wasn't Janet Evans. It wasn't Ted Bundy is fit. Pig. Oh dear, Pig. You're getting carried away, Pig. It wasn't Michael Barrymore. It wasn't Leach. So which 1879 runner-up at Wimbledon became a murderer? It wasn't Cliff Richard, and it wasn't the Ripper with a tennis racket. It wasn't Phil Schofield, and it wasn't Mike Batty. It wasn't Henry Willis, or John Smith, or Matt Wallace. It wasn't Lucy Letby's dad. No. Right. It wasn't Ivor Rackett. Well, that's a witty answer, but it's not true. It's not Edward Williams. It's not Jimmy Savile's grandfather. It wasn't your mum. It wasn't David Love. It wasn't Big Billy Balls. Okay, no, we've got no correct answers, so I award zilch points. 0 points awarded. He was called Vere Gould, Goold. The victim was a Danish widow, Emma Levine. He was the son of an Irish aristocrat. He was a liar, fraudster, casino crimes, life in prison on Devil's Island in French Guiana, and he died immediately thereafter, I think. He was a pretty evil weirdo, but you've never heard of him. So there you go. You don't know of the Wimbledon semi-finalist who became a murderer. So you've learned something new today. So you should thank me for that, shouldn't you? There you go. Who achieved in 2009 the world record for the fastest steam powered vehicle by hitting 139.8 miles an hour in a car nicknamed the world's fastest kettle, and who then died in a helicopter crash in 2018? What was the name of the person? He was the nephew of Galen Weston. Obviously, Selfridges, Fortnum and Mason. He was a war fanatic. He collected tanks. He owned Newtown Park near Lymington, which was for sale for 19 million in 2018, and sold for that. And now he's for sale for 16.5 million, showing that property prices in Great Britain have collapsed. What was his name? What was the name of this man? And he has a third after his name. He's got a title. A third as his. No, it wasn't Beadle. It wasn't Eminem. It wasn't Donald Campbell's son. It wasn't Kitty. It wasn't Charles Ford the third, but it was Charles something. Enigma, you are close, but you're not close enough. You need the correct surname. Charles something the third. I'm giving you all a clue because clearly you couldn't answer my last question. It's not Charles something the third, no. It wasn't Charles Henry the third or Charles Carnegie the third, no. It wasn't Charles York the third. Right. It seems you can't answer this question, so null point awarded. 0 points. It was Charles Burnett the third. Yeah, he was the nephew of Galen Weston. I never met the man, but I did write about him, and I got a lawsuit over writing about him because his family didn't like me writing about him because they thought that he had the right to privacy. But now they're writing about him again because the old house is up for sale again. So they seem to like publicity when it suits them. So strange people, that lot. Anyway, maybe I'll revive my article one day. Okay, next question. In May 1950, which English motor racing circuit was the host of the first Formula One World Championship Grand Prix? Which circuit was the host of the very first Formula One Grand Prix? It wasn't Brands Hatch and it wasn't Goodwood, but Enigma gets it. Enigma gets it with Silverstone. So Silverstone was number one. Well done to Enigma. Right. Next question. As of 2025, how much is Lewis Hamilton being paid per year in £1,000,000 to attempt to restore the pranking horse of Ferrari's racing team to its former glory? How much does he get paid? And it's a ludicrous sum. It's not 20 million, it's not 3 million. It is too much, I agree. It's not 100, it's not 25, it's not 20, it's not 5, it's not 7, it's not. But Miss Marple gets it. So Miss Marple goes into the lead with 3 points. Well done, Miss Marple. It's £50 million a year to Lewis Hamilton. Isn't that absolutely outrageous? Are they mad? He's awful. He's god awful. He's not even very good, is he? not doing a very good job. So we don't like him. Okay, next question. As of 2025, how many billion pounds does horse racing contribute to the UK economy? How many billion pounds? Billion pounds. Horse racing, the sport of horse racing, in billions. It's not 8, it's not 40, it's not 2, it's not 25, it's not 30, it's not 60, it's not 45 or 100. Dixie gets it. Well done, Dixie. A point to you. It's 4 billion. 4 billion pounds is what horse racing contributes to the British economy. 80,000 jobs, supports over 6,000 small businesses on top of that. So horse racing should be subsidised a little better by Rachel Reeves. Come on, Rachel Reeves, Queen of Thieves. Do something to support horse racing. Go after the online casinos, as my friend Charlie Brooks has rightly said in an article yesterday. Tax them higher and reduce the tax on horse racing. That's what you should do. You should. Horse racing is not addictive. Horse racing is like the national lottery. People buy a ticket and off they go, and they place a bet and that's it. Most people are not addicted to horse racing, but online casinos are highly addictive spaces, and they are badly regulated, and you should be regulating them better, and you should be giving horse racing a break. Come on, Keir Starmer's wife, Victoria, is a great fan of horse racing. So come on, man up, grow up and show up and support the horse racing. That's what you should do. You disgraceful waste of space. That's what you are. You're absolutely appalling. Shame on you. Shame on you. So anyway, I agree with Charlie Brooks, and he wrote a very good article about it yesterday, and he analysed the numbers, and I thought it was a very interesting number to share. So there we go. Right. Okay. Next question. At the age of 29, in which year did the best-selling novelist Lord Jeffrey Archer, Lord Archer, become Conservative MP for Louth? It wasn't 1968. Wits End gets it with 1969. Well done to Wits End. It was 1969. Wits End is the winner of the point. Well done to Wits End. So at the moment, we only have Miss Marple in the lead. Everybody else is in 1 point. Miss Marple has got 3 points, but everybody else has 1. And you failed on 2 questions, which is very disappointing. Very disappointing indeed. Very disappointing. Next question. So, no, before we answer the next question, I suppose I should tell you a bit about Jeffrey Archer. He quit age 34 a few years later because he was financial issues, and obviously he went to prison and Sally Farmelo, and he's written many books, and he's a bestseller. And I do enjoy a Jeffrey Archer novel, to be honest. But Jeffrey is a character, so cheers to you, Jeffrey. You give great parties. The Krug and shepherd's pie was very nice. Lovely penthouse he lives in, and of course there was a relationship with Sally Farmerlow, who of course was in Howard's Way, and there's the fragrant Mary, his very intelligent wife. His naughty sons who've been in trouble in the city, one of whom was married to my lovely friend Tara Bernard, but Tara is happily with somebody else. Anyway, we'll move along. So, okay. On the 7th of July, 1954, what did Elvis Presley achieve with That's All Right in Memphis? What did he achieve with That's All Right with Memphis? What happened to him with That's All Right in Memphis on that day? It wasn't a number one, no. It wasn't Blue Suede Shoes. It wasn't number one, as I've already said. It wasn't a gold record. It wasn't a shot. It wasn't a Grammy Award. It wasn't Hall of Fame. No, it wasn't banned. He didn't sign a contract. It wasn't adverts. He didn't get married. Right. No, you haven't got it yet. He didn't die. No. But this is meant to be an easy question. No, no. He didn't get a plane. No. Okay, nobody gets the point. Another one. You failed on 3 questions here in a row. Oh dear. No, it was the fact that he made his radio debut. It was the first time he was played on a radio station. It was in Memphis on a radio station. So there we go. No points awarded. But now you've learned something new, haven't you? And yeah, to the people who are coming in here pretending to be me and pretending to be this and pretending to be that, please don't bother. It's very boring. We don't need you. You can clear off. So yeah, please ban the people who ban that particular person. If any of you can, Keely, please ban the irritating person who is pretending to be using a picture of me. That is just ridiculous. We don't need that. There we go. So we don't need that person. So let's ban that person. If I can find them, I'll ban them myself. But I don't know how to do it. Right. Ban this person. Hide this user on this channel. Bye-bye. You're out. Right. No more messages from that fool. I think we know who that fool is. So get out of the building. Don't mention nasty people who go around attacking me. Not very nice. So we know who you are. Yes. There is only one Matthew Steeples. Well, there aren't actually. There's another one in Hull in Yorkshire. I believe he's some kind of computer technology person. Yes, we don't need to talk about Nasty Nav. We can forget about him. He's a boring person, as is his boring father. Don't want to ever hear about either of those two gross people ever again. Horrible, horrible people. Wicked, nasty people. So there we go. Right. Well, SS Racing, who's successful? Who you think's so successful? Okay. Next question. On which vessel did flood survivors seek refuge in the Bible? In which vessel did they seek? Lois Petzold gets the point. So 2 points to you. You're in second place. The other you. Well, I don't need the other you, and I don't need you. So if you don't like it, you can clear off. You don't have to be nasty. But I'm not going to ban you because you've always been polite in the past. But if you're going to start being rude, well, you can bog off too. Mm. Right. Next question. Which bird is the national animal of New Zealand? Miss Marple gets the point, giving Miss Marple 4 points. It is the kiwi. Which Spanish city famously plays host to the running of the bulls as at its Fiesta de San Fermin in Ferman in July each year? It's not Peckham. Yvonne Flanagan spells it incorrectly, but you can have the point. Pamplona. Yvonne Flanagan. 1 point to you. Okay, right. Next. We're nearly at the end of this quiz, and then we're going to have an early night. It's time for an early night for me. Starring Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale, in which year did the gothic action adventure film Van Helsing premiere? The vampire slaying, Count Dracula film. What year did it premiere? Van Helsing. Kev TT gets the point. Well done to Kev. Kev TT, you get a point. 1 point to you. 2004. Well done. In which English county would you find Minster on Sea? Where would you find Minster on Sea? It's not York. Linz gets it with Kent. Well done to Linz. Straight away in there with Kent. So, approximately your final question, approximately how many thousand species of wasp are there in the UK? How many thousand species of wasps are there? Most of them are, as Sonia Todd gets the point. Sonia Todd, a second point for you. There are 6,000. Most of them are solitary insects, but some live in social colonies. They are stinging, they're annoying nuisances, they're pollinators, they're nature's pest controllers, they're predators of caterpillars and aphids. So our winner on this particular quiz was Miss Marple. Well done to Miss Marple, our winner. So we have a winner chicken dinner. I can't do any more quizzes because that's quite enough for one day. 2 quizzes is quite exhausting enough for me. So there we go. Anyway, thank you very much. As you can see, the wind is starting to howl and the noise is coming up. So maybe there'll be some rain in the night and a bit of a racket. But we will be going to bed myself soon. I don't know whether I'll be able to persuade you know who to go up the stairs, but I think there we go. Anyway, do you have any more questions before we go? I might get myself quickly another glass of wine if you have any questions, but I may as well because there is one sitting there that has been totally ignored by us. So anyway, if you wanted to ask some questions, I'll be back in 1 second. Right, are you waking up? It's time to go to bed soon. Right, okay. Viewers, thank you very much. You've had 2 quizzes. I hope you've enjoyed the 2 quizzes. And yeah, I've got the orange belt on. Yes, the orange belt, the famous orange belt. There we go. Yeah, and an orange bag in the background as well. So there we are.
You think my hair is getting lighter? I don't think so. I think it's going grey. There we are. Do we have any questions? Yeah, you like the Tom Ford trousers? Yes. Um, well, the Bernard Weatherall shirt is also, very perfectly pleasant. Do I like Charlie Kirk? I don't know who Charlie Kirk is, so I can't answer that. I can't answer the question. I don't know who he is. But anyway, I've enjoyed having the quizzes with you today and then talking about nasty Nadine Dorries. And tomorrow I may well be on this Bamba thing, so I may come and talk to you a little earlier. So, what do I think of Wayne Lineker? I don't know anything about Wayne Lineker, but Wayne Lineker seems to get a lot of criticism. But Gary Lineker was very polite when I met him in a restaurant, and we talked about Brexit. And he was a nice man. I found him perfectly pleasant, and I have no problem with him. Did Jimmy Savile ever work with Peter Sutcliffe? Probably, most likely. They probably interacted, both monsters. Have I ever met Richard E. Grant? Yes, I have met Richard E. Grant. I think he's a wonderful, lovely man, brilliant actor. I love, the film Up in the Lake with Uncle Monty and all of that. I've forgotten its name. Oh, God. Withnail and I love Withnail and I. What do I think of Sherry Blair? She's very rude. Tony Blair is an absolute genius. She's very demanding and very difficult and not a pleasant woman to spend time with. But she was always after something when I encountered her. She always wanted more chocolate liqueur. She did like the chocolate liqueur. Monty D's house in Chelsea is in Glebe Place. Yes, that's correct. It's now owned by one of those billionaires who owns one of those luxury goods brands. Have I a favorite Formula One driver? I don't have favorites in anything, but this Nando, what do you call old girl Nando or whatever it's called, is doing quite well. But Sterling Moss was a lovely friend, and I loved Sterling Moss. Great man, loved Sterling. Used to like going around to visit him, and he loved our chocolate liqueur as well. It all seems to be coming back to the Vermeer chocolate liqueur tonight. I used to take round, the odd bit, but he fell down the lift in his house, which I went in that lift once to take him some chocolate liqueur. So there we go. I'm lucky I didn't die in that lift because it fell apart. Given to him by McLaren, of all people. Pig would like to take me for a spin in your new car. What is your new car, Pig? Miss Perfect didn't like James Hunt. There we go. You don't like Lewis Hamilton. No, I don't like Lewis Hamilton. I think he's ghastly. Absolutely awful. Who would I truly like to meet? Alive or dead? Wit's end? That's the question. Who would I truly like to meet? Living, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Someone fascinating. Of a dead person, I would have loved to have met Jeremy Brett because he played Sherlock Holmes in the best fashion, and I love Sherlock Holmes. So I would have been fascinated to have met the man who actually thought that he'd become Sherlock Holmes. That would have been a fascinating encounter. Of a living person, who would I like to meet right now? Well, I certainly don't want to meet the Salt Path couple, do I? They're a pair of disgraces. The Salt Path couple, the pair of liars. Liars, pants on fire. Those two shameful people. It's disgraceful, isn't it, what they've done? Awful. Horrible people. So we don't like them. Right. I can't do an impression of Donald Trump. No, I can't. I'm not Jeremy Beadle. I don't do impressions, or I don't know. I'm trying to think who I would like to meet who's alive, but no, the Saltpath couple, Raina Wynn, and they're disgusting, aren't they? What an awful pair. Would I have? Wise Angel would have loved to have met Freddie Mercury. You preferred Nigel Rathbone as Sherlock. Right. Can I play football? No. Useless. You like Mercedes? Yes. If I could meet 5 people in this chat room, who would it be? Well, that would be an unfair answer because I like all of you very much. You're all very delightful, so I can't be singling out who I want to meet. No, you're all delightful. So, other than the rude ones, yeah. Well, some more likes would be nice. Yes, we like that. Thank you, Enigma. Yes, and yes. Well, anyone can play football with the right coach. Well, I don't think I'm quite Wayne Rooney at this stage, and I'm definitely not David Beckham. So, no, I'm not going to be that. So, I don't want to be either of those two people. I don't want Rebecca Luce, and I don't want some old granny. So, there we are. You'd like to meet Oliver Reed. Oh, what a character. Well, life is a roller coaster, isn't it? I very much enjoyed watching him on After Dark. How would you least like to get? Who would I least like to get stuck on an island with? Who is famous? Probably Lizzie Cundy. Lizzie Cundy would be the worst person to be stuck anywhere with for even 5 seconds. She's truly ghastly. Of someone living and of someone dead, probably Cilla Black, because I've endured her already. I wouldn't want to be stuck anywhere with Cilla Black or Lizzie Cundy. They're the two. I know that sounds like two vacuous, boring people. There are evil people in the world, but they're both grim, and they're both grimmer than grim. So they're the two. Gloria Hunniford, definitely, she'd be up there as well. Lois loves Jeremy Paxman. Stephen Fry, I wouldn't want to be stuck with him either, though he could go. Casey Hopkins, definitely awful. Paul O'Grady, well, he's dead, so you can't be stuck with him. I don't want Scylla singing a song. I don't want Cliff Richard. Grim Greta, yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to be stuck with Greta. Definitely not Katie Hopkins. Simon Cowell, Katie Price. No, they're awful. Jeremy Clarkson would not be a bad person to spend time with. I would enjoy his company. Have I ever met George Best? No, I never met George Best. My mother did, but I have met Callum Best and his George Best's late wife as well. I met her. Claire Mandel. Yeah, no, we don't want to be stuck anywhere with her. Michael Howard. Michael Howard is a lovely man, actually. I like Michael, and I love his wife, Sandra. She's a lovely, lovely lady, so I like them. Timmy Mallet, no thank you. Prince Harry, no, I wouldn't want to be stuck with him. Miss Marple. Did my mother sleep with George Best? As far as I'm aware, no, I don't think so. So I'm very glad to say no to that question. It's not a very nice question to ask, Anne of Cleavers, but there you are. but a fair point. I suppose he did sleep with most people he met. Right. That wasn't a very nice question. I didn't really like. Liz Hurley's son is a bit strange. Well, Liz Hurley is a bit strange. She's a very rude woman. I don't like Liz Hurley. Can't stand her. Gross, grim, and ghastly. There's not much redeeming about Liz Hurley. She's awful. Would I have a cup of tea with Daniel O'Donnell? I wouldn't particularly seek out a cup of tea with Daniel O'Donnell. She's dating Billy Ray Cyrus. Isn't that odd? Yes. Well, she's odd. Full stop. Whitsend's uncle partied with George Best. What about Faye Dunaway? I don't really have much reviews on her. You love Katie Price. You think she's troubled but has a good life, says Sarah Riley. Well, what she's done to those children is disgusting, and what she's done to those animals is even more disgusting. Shame on her. She's an absolute piece of toe rag. Hello to Pig Pig, who wants to know who his favourite Pig is. Well, you got your name mentioned. There you are, Pig Pig. Nice to have you here. Right. Right. Okay. Well, if I walked onto the stage with my subscribers in the audience, what would we discuss? Well, whatever the issue of the day was, I suppose. It would be, yes. Well, we did talk about doing a tour, but the person who was going to organize the tour was a little disorganized, let's be honest. So she wasn't really up to much in that regard. So we'll have to find another way of doing this. So there we are. Okay, well, what's my thoughts on the floods in Texas? Well, isn't it tragic? I'm very, very sorry for those poor families who are grieving the loss of their beautiful children. It's absolutely appalling that there weren't better checks in place, that the whole place wasn't better run. It's clear that there was some mess up on a almighty scale in this place. Something needs to be done to make sure an episode like this can't happen again. But it's tragic for those families that those beautiful children have been taken away from them. It is a tragedy. Will I be attending the Edinburgh Festival in August? Hopefully, if I could, yes, definitely. Right. You want to be stuck on an island with 50 Cent? Oh, right. Okay. Well, what's my view on Brian Harvey? I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice here, aren't I? Oh gosh, I'm losing my voice. I think it's time for me to go to bed, to be honest. But Brian Harvey, he's just a mad old druggie, isn't he? Awful. Yeah, Brian's very shouty. He's completely mad. Have I encountered Andrew Castle? No, I don't know who Andrew Castle is. Sorry, don't know him. Not that I remember. I don't. Maybe. Who is Andrew Castle? I don't know. I'm not sure. I will be honest. When I don't know something, I will admit it. I don't know who he is. He's a former tennis player, says Owain. Okay, not heard of him, so I don't know him. Okay, he ripped off. Brian got ripped off the millions. You'd be shouting too. Well, I don't know who what Brian's been ripped off by, but Brian Harvey is a very strange man who's very angry. Who would win in a game of chess with you and Sir David Beckham? Well, I don't know. He might be quite good at chess. I don't know. I have no idea if he can play chess. Don't know. So I can't answer that question. Don't know. Did I watch the tennis today? No, I don't watch television. I listen to Radio 4. That's all I ever do. I haven't watched television in maybe 8 months. So I don't know. Who is the next James Bond going to be? I don't know. My friends, the Broccoli Wilsons, who used to own the franchise, obviously I used to go to the premieres of, with Daniel Craig and all the rest, and I used to have a lovely time watching all these things. And they never gave anything away in advance, so we don't know who the next Bond be. But all this not talk of nonsense of James Bond's going to be a woman. Well, how can you have James Bond as a woman? He's called James for a start, so that's a stupid idea. So the purchasers of the franchise want to go down that route and go all woke. They're absolutely ridiculous. They're losing the plot if that's the case, but I don't think they will. It will be something different, but it will be. I don't think it'll be as woke as, because people are bored of woke. Let's be honest. Let's wake up to the woke. Let's get rid of the woke. Okay, so there we are. Have I met Trevor McDonald? No, I've never met Trevor McDonald. No, don't know him. But he's a veteran broadcaster. Well done to him for having an amazing career. But I don't know. I don't know him, so I can't possibly comment on him. I should be James Bond licensed to quiz. Well, no, I don't think so. I'd be absolutely useless. Should Bond be wearing a turban? I don't think so, no. James Bond is a classic English character, so why change it? If you want to have something different, make a different film. Make a film about something else. Call it James Smith, James Jackson, James Jagger, whatever you want to call it. You want Bond in a mobility scooter? Well, maybe not. I don't think that would quite work, would it? It'd come across as some kind of freak comedy. Would I dance if you asked me to dance? No, I'm not going to dance on television. I don't do dancing. Right. Right. You want Bond in a boat? Skyfall. Okay. You'd have danced all night. Eddie Izzard is bonkers. Bankers. I don't know what that meant to me. Have I ever worn a kilt? Asks Miss Marple. I don't wear a kilt because I'm not Scottish. It would be inappropriate to wear a kilt because I'm not Scottish. I think that's a totally stupid thing to do if you're not from Scotland. You shouldn't be wearing a kilt because it's not your nation. But I love Scotland and I love visiting, but I'm not Scottish. Right. Anyway, I'm going to say thank you very much. We're now at 1 hour and 57 minutes. Have we any final questions before I decide to go? It's 1 hour and 50. There's a fly on the screen annoying me. And you like Scottish marmalade? Well, I love marmalade. Marmalade's lovely. I love marmalade as long as it's got lots of sort of bits in it. I like the more substantial marmalade, to be honest. And yes, marmalade is a fabulous thing to have. Did I ever meet Keith Floyd? No, I never sadly met Keith Floyd, but I'm a great fan of Keith Floyd. Keith Floyd and Julia Child were the two, poster childs of cooking for me because they cooked in the way I wanted. They enjoyed cooking and they drank along with their cooking and they had a good time and they made the most of cooking. Did Robin Williams fake his death? Of course he didn't fake his death. What a stupid thing to say. I really, Biscuitek, you're a nice person, but Robin Williams sadly, had a lot of troubled issues. Robin Williams was a very lovely friend of mine, and I had dinner at his home a number of times, and he was a kind-hearted, decent man, and he did not fake his death. When he died, he died. That's the end of the matter. So he didn't fake his death. He hasn't run away to, he's not got lost in the Bermuda Triangle or something. That's a strange thing to say, and I don't think it's appropriate, because let him rest in peace, because he was a lovely, kind-hearted, lovely gentleman who made lots of people laugh, and he was a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. And I was very, very lucky to spend time at his home in Seacliff in San Francisco. Some of the best people I've ever met in the world live in San Francisco. San Francisco is the place I really feel affinity with. And maybe that's where I'm going to go next, because I love it there. So yeah, but it's probably changed rather a lot now. But he has not faked his death. That's a silly thing to say. Please don't spread false stories like that. That's a silly thing to say. He was not well, and he was not well because of addiction, and that was the problem. Let's be honest. Yes, Diana has been dead for 28 years. I'm more interested in Robin Williams than Diana, to be honest. Let's be honest. But Mork and Mindy, you all loved Mork and Mindy. Yeah, Mork and Mindy, great thing from Robin Williams. Robin presided over entertainment for so many others. He provided great humor, and he was a good man. And yes, Norman Tebbit has died today. Yes, Norman Tebbit. I did not know Norman Tebbit well. I did meet Norman Tebbit, but Norman Tebbit wasn't really my kind of person. You know, Norman Tebbit was a little bit right wing for me. He made the odd intelligent remark, but he was a little too aggressive in his manner for my liking. He wasn't my kind of person, let's be honest. I will admit it. I'm more of a Ken Clark supporter than a Norman Tebbitite. Norman Tebbit was get on your bike and all this, and no, but I'm he lived to a grand old age of 94. He suffered appallingly as a result of the IRA. He cared for his poor wife, who, suffered appallingly as a result of the bombing in Brighton. And he was courageous in that regard. And, he liked to provoke people, and he used to come up with lots of different things. He wasn't my kind of politician. He was a bit of a Brexiteer, far right kind of person rather than a centrist, which I feel I am. So I wasn't his biggest fan, but I will say, he achieved a remarkable career, and he looked after his wife in an amazing way, and he lived to a grand old age of 94. So yeah, cheers to you, Norman Tebbit. Never thought I'd say that, but Norman Tebbit. He used to as they said on Radio 4 this morning, he told many of his colleagues the first thing he ever read in the morning in the newspaper, in the Telegraph, was the obituary section, and he'd go, "Thank God they're effing dead." So he's now going to be the obituary tomorrow, so he can have the last laugh, can't he? So we salute you, Norman Tebbit. I can't say I was your biggest fan, but you did me no harm, and I wish you, a long and happy retirement in the sky. There we go. Rest in peace, Norman Tebbit. But yeah, Robin Williams. Yeah, well, Robin was a dearer person in my life because he kindly invited me to his home on a number of occasions, and I was very, very lucky to see the wit of an amazing man, a complex man, a troubled man, but a brilliant, brilliant man. But he was like all comedians. Most comedians are depressives. They cannot cope with, when they're not on the stage, they're unhappy. And that's why they end up, comedians and poets. Think of Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath, she put her head in the oven. She was only in her early 30s or 40s, and she just put her head in the oven. This is what they do. These kind of creative types of that type, they cannot cope, and they're depressives. So when they're not performing, they don't want to be alive. They're just unhappy. So it's very, very sad to see how that can happen to people. Yes, he did take a lot of drugs, but of course, everybody gave him drugs. In the case of Robin Williams, Robin was given so many drugs because people thought, well, we can control you. You're a famous person. So if we give you drugs, we can say, well, we know you've got taken drugs, so you'll do what we want. And that was how Robin was controlled in many ways. And I've read a lot of books about Robin, and I've read lots about him but he was he didn't like the fact that people controlled him. He even made a joke once at a party I went to with him and the Sky Vodka man. He said, "Thanks, Uncle Maury, for getting me addicted to Sky Vodka." And he felt he had to say it because he got so many cases of bloody Sky Vodka sent to him a week that he ended up addicted to the bloody stuff. So, that was how it worked. And it's not very nice how he was manipulated because they knew they could control him. And he was a good person. Whereas, the Salt Path couple are bad people. They are bad people who are, doing bad things. They're not adding to the world in any positive way. And that's not a good thing. Meanwhile, I don't know where Madam has vanished to, but she's vanished. There we are. Anyway, so the next question. Any more questions? Right. Before we go, let's have a positive question. A positive question to end the program on, please. Yes, she has run away to the bathroom area, I suppose, but oh, she hasn't been kidnapped, no. Right. Any more final questions? So there we are. I don't eat breakfast generally, other than orange juice and Yorkshire tea. So right. You don't need to apologize for mentioning Robbie Williams' Biscuitec. It's absolutely fine. It's nice to talk about him. Right. Anyway, I'm going to say thank you very much and have a good night. I don't know what has happened to who, but I'll go and investigate. But she's obviously wandered off. So I'll say have a lovely, lovely evening. And at the top of the evening to you. I don't know quite what's going on, but I can hear noises in the background. So obviously someone is quite capable of getting themselves to there. So there we are. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining in. It's been wonderful. And, we'll see you again tomorrow, perhaps, but it will be maybe an earlier time as we will have guests. Yes, so have you any final questions before I go? One more question. I'll allow you one more question. Let's have another more question. Who won the quiz? The winner of tonight's quiz was Miss Marple. Well done to Miss Marple. You'd like a date with Lucy Letby. I don't know why anybody in their right mind would get a date with Lucy Letby, John Miller. That is a very strange thing to request. You want to have a date with a child killer? Are you deranged? Are you born in a barn? Were you the village idiot? Are you the complete fool? Are you a complete arse? What is completely wrong with you? That's a completely crazy thing to ask for. So, no, I don't really think that's a very nice thing to have. Whoever you are, oh yes, you're trying to be another little clever one. Right, out. Banned, that one. Another one banned. It's probably Nasty Nav or Sam Palmer. So there we go. Get off my channel. Get out of my pub, as they say. So anyway, here we go. We don't have that. His love could rehabilitate her. No, these people are deranged and they're just mental. Writing things like that is disgusting. Yes, we don't want Splat Nav. No, Nasty Nav won't be coming back. A certain person will be paying him a visit, and I hope that they teach him a lesson. That's all I shall say. Nasty Nav. He's been in court twice already, so maybe it's time for him to go to court for a third time. Horrible little rat. I don't like rats. Anyway, so what kind of visit? Just a polite visit, just to teach him some manners. He needs to learn some manners, that little rat. Yes, he just needs to be taught respect. He needs a meeting where he's told to be respectful to people instead of beating them up. That's what he needs. So there we go. No violence, nothing. I'm not suggesting anything nasty. I'm suggesting that he needs to be taught some good manners. That is all. And that's enough. No kneecaps. No. Is Nav coming over to visit? No, he will not be visiting me anywhere ever again in my entire life. I will never see the rat again unless it happens to be in a restaurant. But I will make sure every restaurant I go to bans him for life, because I don't want him in my vicinity. That's all I shall say. I don't want him in my vicinity. No violence. No violence. Violence is not a nice thing, and I don't encourage violence. Violence should never occur. But he needs to learn some manners and respect, and he needs to learn the art of apologizing. And I want an apology. That is very much what I want. So, no, I will make that very clear. An apology is required, but not violence. No, don't need violence. That's not my style. I don't do violence. But someone was violent to me, and this is what the pain I'm in is terrible, absolutely appalling. Yes. Get Gloria to have a word. No, Gloria is of utterly as much use as a chocolate bus ticket. She's absolutely chocolate teapot. She's absolutely useless. No, we don't need Gloria. But Inglorious Hunniford is of no use, and nor is Nasty Nab's horrible father. So there we go. His name's Matthew Singh. He's a horrible person as well. Don't like you because you haven't even made your son apologize. Shame on you, you revolting man. After all I did for your son and helping him, shame on you. Anyway, it's time for me to go to bed. I'm going to bed in a moment. I'm ready to go to bed. It's 10:30 at night, and I'm very tired, and I've done 2.5 hours of this, so it's time to go to bed. You wouldn't want an apology if it's not meant, says Linz. You're quite correct there. There is no need for an apology from Nasty Nav because it wouldn't be meant in the first place. Precisely. Why don't they get the police on him? Well, it's a foreign country. It's impossible to deal with it. It's absolutely very difficult. Anyway, I wish you all a very happy night. It shows he's an inadequate. Yes, he's an inadequate, precisely. Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to go to sleep now, and I'm going to say thank you very much. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. And top of the evening to you all. Top of the evening. So take care, and I'll be back with you tomorrow. Thank you to all the hundreds of you who've been here. You've been absolutely fabulous, and we've had a jolly old time and 2 quizzes, and it's been a very pleasant evening. So Thank you and take care. Goodbye. Pip, pip. Good night.